Now I'm going to assume that we're at the point where all teams have sold 3 units at $10 per unit and bought 3 units at $10 per unit. And I'm going to show you how to complete your seller and buyer worksheets on page 37 and 38 of the workbook. Remember, even if you didn't actually sell 3 units at $10 a piece, we're going to pretend like you did. Even if you didn't actually buy 3 units at $10 a piece, we're going to pretend like you did. Let's all come to the worksheet for sellers. And now that we have completed our transaction, we're going to start filling out the sheet. And let's look at number 1. 1 says, today I received a price of $10 per unit and sold 3 units to team so-and-so. Normally you'll put in who you actually sold to. Right now it doesn't really matter. And so your revenues here are simply going to be $10 per unit times 3 units equals $30. Those are your revenues. Price times quantity. Your total variable cost of production is a little different. Your variable cost of production, those are costs that change as you produce more or less, and they're simply the sum of these marginal values. So look here. The cost of the marginal cost of the first unit was 5. Marginal cost of the second unit was 6. Marginal cost of the third unit was 7. So the total variable cost of production of 3 units is going to be 5 plus 6 plus 7, $18. Your total cost of production, that's your variable cost plus your fixed cost. Come up here, your fixed cost is 1. So your total cost of production is 18 plus 1 equals 19. Your average total cost, that's just where you take your total cost, 19, divide it by 3, and I'm going to explain why you would do this in just a second. And when I take 19 divided by 3, I get 6.3333. This just means on average it costs you $6.33 to produce each unit. And as long as you can get a price above $6.33, you're going to make money. Now produce a surplus. The word produce a surplus is not supposed to mean anything to you yet, but it will shortly. And you can just think of produce a surplus as profits if you don't include fixed costs. And so you just take your revenues of $30 minus your variable costs of $18, and you're going to get that your producer surplus is $12. And then your total surplus, your total profits, which are revenues minus all your costs. You have your revenues of $30 minus 18 variable costs minus $1 fixed costs, which equals $11. And that is how you fill out your seller sheet. And as you do this, you'll begin to understand how the price and quantity you negotiate changes your profits. But as a general, let me go ahead and just give you a shortcut on how to get a good price and quantity. What I like to do is come in here and also graph the marginal value curve. And so there I have my marginal value curve. And what students tend to do is first they find where these two lines cross. They look at the quantity at where that cross is like 7.5, and they'll say, I'll produce 6 or 7 units, and they charge a price where those lines cross. So students might look at where these lines cross and decide, I'm going to try to sell 6 units at, say, $12 a piece. That's a good starting point, and you'll see why that's a good starting point later. But next week when we play in lab, that's probably the rules of thumb I'm going to encourage you to use. But that's how you fill out the seller worksheets, and at the end of every lab we're going to look at I'm going to calculate what I have as your seller profits on the computer, and we're going to make sure you have the same thing to make sure you understand how to fill out the sheets correctly, and so that you know that we're grading you by the correct profits.